Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank you for coming down here, members of the media especially, members of the community. Rather than doing this from my offices, as you can see, we've been on the road a lot of the time today, different ones of us taking different parts of the island. And I wanted to be able to speak to you. I want to thank Minister Abrams for addressing and keeping the country up to date over the last just under 30 hours. But we've just received the last update from the Met Office, and Mr. Best was very clear in his language. Barbados has been downgraded from a hurricane watch to a tropical storm warning. We are still very much watching what is going on. The difficulty is that we all know that systems move at short notice. Indeed, you only have to recall what happened years ago when Ivan was due to be coming to Barbados, and at the very last minute it shifted and went to Grenada. So on current trajectory, it does look as though Grenada and the Grenadines will get more of it than us, but by the same token, they're not in a position to be able to reduce further or to remove a tropical storm warning. We expect that tomorrow, from about mid-morning, it's now later than what we originally anticipated, that we will start to see some steady showers from mid-morning into early evening. And because of the fact that even though the Ministry of Public Works has done a hell of a job trying to clear canals and channels over the course of the last few months, there are always difficulties, for example, with unexplained dumping or unexplained blockages. So I want everyone to assume still that they have to take every precaution to prevent any form of flash flooding should that be as a result of the consistent rain. Similarly, they have now indicated that the seas, while the seas will remain rough, the swells in open water have been reduced to just about 3.5 meters from the height of 5 to 6 meters that we were briefed originally yesterday. Now, 3.5 meters is still tall. I don't know of a 10-foot man around me here, or a 10-foot woman, not even Mr. Cummins at his height. So that means that the waves are going to be much higher. That's about 10 foot. But the bottom line is that that's open water. So by the time it comes to the shore, it's going to be significantly less, but still at 2.8 meters, you're still talking about high waves. Most of the heavy waves and battering from the waves will be on the east and the southeastern coast, according to the Met Office. But on the west coast, the seas will still be rough, and therefore we are appealing to persons to stay out of the sea tomorrow. There's no good reason why you need to go in tomorrow. You do Sunday. Small craft, we're still telling them to come into safe harbor, because once again, anything can shift at the last minute. With respect to winds, they expect borderline tropical storm winds, and those equally too are more likely to be in the middle of the day, mid-morning to early afternoon. But once again, all of this is subject to the current trajectory remaining constant. And thus far, Gonzalo has behaved like a drunken person. Up and down, up and down, up and down. And when you already have that kind of behavior in the system, then my advice to all Barbadians is that we must stay vigilant and that we must prepare. Effectively, those who should be on the road tomorrow, unless the tropical storm warning is lifted, should only be the essential workers and the critical care workers in the country. And to that extent, therefore, we expect everybody to stay in and stay safe. I'm appealing to Barbadians to do it. We have had these kind of conversations, a little too much for me now. We've had it with 2 previous storms, and luckily the country has responded. By the same token, with Dorian, as you know, we had no rain effectively. We had a few trees that went down, and it was largely because of the dry air in the system that sucked out all of the convection in the system. But that same Dorian sat over Bahamas 1 week later after it left here for 2 to 3 days and devastated the Bahamas. So when I say to you that we're keeping you up to date, we're telling you that we're praying and we're crossing fingers, but we are also warning you that in every instance with Maria, Dominica, it literally developed in short order within a 24-hour period. With Ivan, similarly, it devastated Grenada, and it was not intended to do so when it was daylight. It was only during the night that they then realized that the storm was coming to them. So as I speak to Barbadians this evening, we are all saying to you to please continue to prepare. If the worst does not happen, we at least have had a dry run. But if, as we anticipate, we're going to get bad weather, at least we're going to minimize the extent of that bad weather causing dislocation to families, putting anybody's life at risk, putting anybody's limbs at risk, putting anybody's property at risk if we properly prepare. If you know around you a custom flooding, go and get some sandbags. I got a garage home at me at the bottom of an incline. I already got my sandbags there, because with the best will in the world, a heavy shower for a couple hours gives me trouble even if the Met Office has not put things in place. So I want us to have that kind of vigilance as we go forward. I don't know if the Minister of Home Affairs or the Attorney General or Minister of Public Works, Minister Griffith, wants to say anything, but essentially this is where we are. It feels good to feel the sun, but you've seen the kind of up and down with the weather. In fact, you might even say, I don't know if the children nowadays still say that the devil and the wife fighting for the cuckoo stick, because we're getting a drizzle and we got the sun. And that's what we were taught as children. But effectively, let us just stay on course. If there are areas around you that you really believe ought to be still clean, let us know, because we anticipate that this is going to be a long season. We've never had to respond this early to a storm this late in the alphabet. And that should in and of itself tell you that this is unusual. This is an unusual period of time in which we are living. And to that extent, therefore, August, September, the old ditty means nothing now. June too soon, July stand by, August a must, September what? Remember, October? Not anymore. Last year we went straight into November as well, as you would recall. So that is the general update. Are there any questions from anyone or any clarifications needed?
Prime Minister, good evening. Strategically speaking, do you have concerns with drainage or possible flash flooding in this area where we stand?
Always, always. And this requires a longer, major project which we've been working on. I'm not happy with the pace of it, but I believe that the others understand that I am going to be the chief foreman to ensure that the pace comes down faster, and that we put behind us. I mean, I remember as a little child, my first memory of floods was in October 1970 when my father was a member of parliament in this constituency, and when people were going down Baxter's Road and through the street in Moses boats. So that we've always had problems out here. But this system also goes right back into the bottom and goes across by Chafet and back down and the pump house by Princess Alice. We are happy that we actually have 3 pumps now, and we have a generator. The generator that they have for there was not working. I've asked them to be able to source another generator to rent to make sure that that is in place, and I trust and pray that that has been done. But that is critical to ensure that Bridgetown does not flood. Bridgetown is below seawater level, and most people don't realize that. So I just come from Speightstown again. Speightstown, as you know, is an area that traditionally floods. The salt pond is pretty much clear. There's one finger channel that is not as clear as I would like. I just left down there and told the workmen when they finish to go and clear that finger channel that goes right back up by the boardwalk towards Chafet. And then if you go on the other side by the gas station on the highway itself, while the channels are clear, the bush, say from here to the basketball pole there, but has to be going further up, needs further clearance. But I know where we were 2 years ago and last year, and we are far more advanced in ensuring that persons keep around them, and these clear channels and canals out by Lobster Live there in Bridgetown opposite London Bourne, same thing. In Watton, same thing. The one that I'm not as comfortable about because we haven't done as much work as we would like in time is up in Work Hall in St. Philip. But for the most part, what I've heard from MTW as we prepared and we took from all ministries yesterday is a better state of readiness than we have been for a considerable period of time. Now, does that mean that nothing ain't gonna happen? You and I know better that the Almighty is take care of these things, not us. Our duty is to prepare and to make sure that we can minimize the damage. And I'm satisfied that the Ministry of Public Works has been more assiduous this year than it has been. This part of Murphy's Pasture and down here requires, however, almost a redevelopment. And to that extent, I've been discussing with the Member of Parliament, Minister Bostic, how we're going to deal with it between MTW and UDC so that we bring once and for all an upliftment of the conditions under which these persons are living. Okay?
Thanks.
Any more questions?
You said essential workers are the only ones that should be out on the road tomorrow.
Yeah, the essential
However,
workers.
If there are some persons who work on Saturdays and the employers still manage them to come to work.
But I don't know who would be requiring people to come to work if there's still a tropical storm warning unless they're an essential worker. So as far as I know, AG, it's only the essential workers who will be out. Okay? If the tropical storm warning is lifted, which is entirely possible, then it's a different story. And that's why I knew there was one other thing I wanted to address, and I thank you for reminding me. There's a lot of stuff going around social media. And I noticed that even recently, Barry, your paper had to take its own full-page ad to remind people about not trusting fake news. If there's one bad thing about the technological era in which we live, is the preponderance of and the whole set of fake news all over the place. We see that they even tried to do it with the Official Gazette. They've tried to do it with your competitor newspaper. I want Barbadians to go to the established sites that they know and that they can trust. The Government Information Service, the Nation newspaper, the Barbados Today, VOB, CBC, the ones that you know. And then my own sites, for all who don't know about social media, when you see that little blue tick, then you know it's an authentic site. When you don't see that blue tick, more often than not, it is somebody trying to hack somebody, especially if you are an official in public life. Most of the official social media sites will authenticate you by giving you a little blue tick. And I'll ask GIS to run some PSAs on it in the future. But I'm saying this because I know a number of people called me this afternoon panicking, believing that Barbados is going to be flattened. And these are the kinds of things that we have to watch on social media. So just stay listening to the official sources for me, please. Okay, anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, and be safe. Barry, you're going very fast. Be safe, everyone.
I'm trying to be safe.
And let us also, I'd like the electronic media and those of you with social media to help us with advising as many people as possible, given the fact that circumstances can change overnight, either better or worse. But for now, we will keep our guard. Thank you very much. Take care.